As I said, my name is Etienne de la Boetie2, and that is a non-including pen name. The original was a political philosopher who wrote in the 16th century, and he was really one of the first that chronicled little tricks and techniques that rulers used not just to get obedience, but to get fealty and adoration out of their tax slaves. And so he was a little bit like Machiavelli, except Machiavelli was like, hire me, and Boetie was like, these guys are jerks. And so the techniques that he was writing about in the 16th century, I have like 2 pages of quotes in the back of the book. Some of those techniques are still being used today, and they were already 1,000 years old when Boetie was writing about them. So there's a playbook to rob and control societies, and the thesis of Boetie is that government was never intended to protect life, liberty, and property. It was always intended to rob and enslave. A little bit of background about myself, so you understand where I've kind of gotten this. I've been a board director of corporate advisor to Fortune 500 companies, consultant with Fortune 500 companies. I worked on Wall Street. I ran a national third-party Louisville campaign in my youth. I worked at one of the big 4 think tanks in D.C. I used to live outside of Washington, D.C., where I was part of D.C., Maryland, and NOAA's largest CEO network. So I've been blessed to see district criminals up close and personal. And so this is the result between plus years in my research. And so what I do is I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm an organized crime researcher. And so, the thesis is that government was never designed to serve and protect. It's always been used to rob and control. And I'm coming at that from a voluntarist standpoint where government is always illegitimate, okay? And this is the thing you got to get through your mind, okay? Because they introduced it to you and they sent it to you as a child before you're old enough to really evaluate the logic and the morality of the concept of government. But if I myself do not have the ability myself to take your money and get the charity, or I don't have the ability to make up rules for you myself, and I cannot delegate a right that I do not have myself to a representative or to a government to represent me doing something that I don't have the ability to do myself. And so the power for the government to do everything that it does not come from we the people, because it's impossible for we the people delegate rights that they do not have to a representative or a government. Then where did the government get the right to do everything that it does? It's been a scam. It's been the biggest scam in history. And so just think of, you can't be bound by social contract that you didn't sign. If democracy is 2 wolves and a sheep deciding what's for dinner, then it doesn't matter if there's 3 wolves or 5 wolves or 10 wolves. You can't take something that is inherently immoral, democracy, and make it moral just because the mob wants to lynch black folks or rob Peter to pay Paul. Just because the majority wants to go along with it, it doesn't mean that it's right. It doesn't mean that it's legitimate. It doesn't mean that it's moral. And so the way that the scam has worked is that intergenerational organized crime, when I say intergenerational organized crime, we're going all the way back to modern. So think of royalty as the first intergenerational organized crime. We're taking your money. And if you don't give it to us, we're going to hurt you. And then we're going to, then over time, royalty used a bunch of tricks and techniques and, fancy hats and ermine robes and playing all, God Save the Queen or Hell Chief when they come in or, whatever it is to give the illusion of legitimacy to something that is obviously not legitimate. And then they use control of information when the population, either controlling the information you receive by forcing you to go to a mandatory government school where they teach you that it's legitimate that they get to take your money before you're old enough to know about it, or they're controlling the information you receive through a weaponized anomaly media system that we'll get into later. But the name of the game is controlled perception. Can I give this system make you believe in your heart that you owe them money, and it's legitimate that they got to rule you, and it's legitimate that you got to do whatever they say that you got to do, or you kind of name it. And so once you realize that it is illegitimate, I hope I've just made it that. I know it's a lot to think about because you tend to accept whatever was told to you when you were young, and it becomes kind of like an instinct or whatever. But I want you to really, really understand in your mind that you can never have a legitimate government. It's impossible to have a legitimate government of any kind because you can't delegate rights you don't have yourself. Final thing on this, imagine if we're all stuck on an island, okay? Imagine how does one person or a couple of people or a minority acquire legitimately and morally the ability for the majority to use violence on everybody else so that, let's say I get to decide who needs to go pick coconuts and all you guys go pick coconuts for me, and then we've got this group, we're all going to vote. And everybody that votes, everybody that outvotes them, they're going to all work, and the people that voted aren't. It doesn't make any sense. It's not logical. It's not moral. It's not desirable. It also doesn't work. It doesn't produce the good. So the Constitution didn't protect individual liberty. The Constitution didn't limit government in any way, shape, or form. So there's a utilitarian argument that says that it doesn't do what it says. So whenever some of this coming to as our monarchy fell out of favor, intergenerational organized crime developed democracy, but they easily control the outcome of the elections using fraud, unarmable black box voting machines, disparity of campaign funds, electoral vote blocks to third parties, bribery, blackmail, and assassination. So they're cheating. It's organized crime. Of course they control the voting machines. They've been controlling the voting machines in this country going back since they invented the voting machines. It's a rigged game that they are controlling, and whether you vote for government A or government B, government red or government blue, you're going to get government and bend over and take it because it's legitimate and it's all rear gets for the poor, the needy, the disadvantaged, and the children. So just that. If you just think about it, when they develop democracy, they're criminals. They've been robbing the population. They've been making them live as serfs. They've been poisoning them with the food they give them. They're not going to really give them the ability to vote, like have it make a difference or anything. So in the book, I break down a long-term control perception program going on. So the subtitle of the book is How Intergenerational Organized Crime Runs the Government. I'm working on the 5th edition right now. I'm going to change the title to How Organized Crime Runs the Government, the Media, and Academia, because I covered in the book, but this ability to control perception through this top-down hierarchical control of either a monopolized media system or top-down hierarchical control of, let's say, information about what's really making people sick during this COVID thing is being pushed through the World Health Organization, the CDC. It's being pushed down in a controlled system that hierarchically pushes it to state health departments, county health departments. It pushes out these mandates, and they're able to do that because they built this system to allow them to be able to control a very small number of people in the CDC or World Health Organization or whatever, and then they can generate billions and billions and billions and billions and trillions ultimately of theft. And that's really how they're doing it. If you're stealing trillions of dollars, then what is the couple $100 billion that you spend every year to control media? It's the marketing budget. And so it is, that's kind of the name of the game. In the book, I break down, even going back to the 1700s, how the anti-federalists were censored during gratification to maids. Mail was both stolen. They speculated openly in the anti-federalist papers that the stenographer in Pennsylvania was bar officer who only transcribed federalist speeches. That the Pennsylvania Herald, the newspaper reporting on ratification, was collapsed by this organized crime system, withdrawing all of the subscriptions to that newspaper so that nobody understood what was really going on in the ratification debates. That's just some examples from 1700. The The other thing that the book exposes and is so they slipped the belief in government to the population as a religion. We're not going to call it a religion. We're going to use all of the little sneaky tools and techniques of an unethically manipulative religion or a cult to give everybody the idea that government is legitimate. And so we're going to put you into the church school where the priest, the teacher, was going to teach you about the presidents and popes, the legitimacy of the system. We're old enough to really accept it. They're going to get you doing the common prayer of the Pledge of Allegiance. They're going to have you singing the hymns of the Star Spangled Banner. They're going to have you doing the flag ceremonies at football games. They're going to, in 8th grade, generally, they're going to take you to Washington, D.C., Mecca, okay, where they're going to take you to the cathedral of the Capitol that is giant and oversized, and you feel small and insignificant. It looks like the Vatican for a reason. It's a cathedral. And they're going to take you to the temples along the Potomac, and they're going to show you deities of Jefferson, Lincoln. It's going to be all very hushed and reverent. And if you go into court, the judge is going to wear a vestment, and you're going to pay your tithe, and they're going to join the military, and they're going to send you on crusades. And it's a religion that they're reinforcing with the media system. So I'll just keep going when we get to some of the slides. I'll just tell you this. So the book is designed to, how do you take somebody and wake them up to like what's really going on in the system and the playbook and all that. And so most people are visual learners. About 65% of the population falls in that category. And so the goal of the book is how do you take your friends, your family, your loved ones, and you get them from 0 to 60 in the shortest amount of time. And so I'm leveraging the fact that those people are visual learners, and I'm also leveraging the human beings are really, really good pattern recognition machines. Then they see this old pattern, they're like, that's artificial, that's a pattern, that's a playbook. Somebody's running game on me, they're doing that on purpose. And so I'm doing repetition of the kind of method. I'm showing making what was invisible visible using visualization. So I'll get to some examples here, but just understand that most people, they almost instantly come to insight when they see something versus where they hear it, because the eyes can register about 36,000 visual images an hour, but can only understand about 400 words a minute. It only takes the brain about a quarter of a second to process and attach meaning to the symbol. By comparison, it takes us an average of 6 seconds to read 20 to 25 words. Presentations using visual aids are 43% more persuasive. And there's something called the picture superiority effect, where if I showed you a picture of a hammer, you're going to have a deeper and understanding of what hammer is than if I tried to explain it to you. And so these are all techniques that I'm using in the book. I mentioned it as a playbook. And so I'm taking a look in the first part of the book at these 20 techniques that we break down. And then I explain the technique in the little black box. And then I explain what it looked like in Nazi Germany, the U.S. government, Soviet Union, East Germany, so that the reader can see that, oh, wait a minute, it's a playbook. We're going to give them a flag. The flag is the artificial indoctrinated holy symbol. It's like the cross. It's like the Quran. And then we're going to do all the techniques in school that we discussed. But we're also going to use this control of perception, monopoly media that is going to begin weaving the holy symbol into movies and television shows on the side. We're going to product place the flag into movies. You can in the section on the movies, I actually have some videos that you can click through in the PDF version of the book. One of them is about 4 or 5 minute video where they just took all of the product placements of the flag for 12 Michael Bay movies. And they just put it up. They just show you, and they go through the entire movie, and then they cut out the couple of seconds that the flag is on screen. They put a pointer to it, and then they ding a bell, and there's a counter that's going on and on. And when you string it all together, you're just like, it's going ding. I think it's like 469 product placements of the American flag at 12 Michael Bay movies as an example. They're using a technique called anchoring. And anchoring is when you build the audience of the propagandist director, okay, will build the audience up to a moment of high positive emotion. And the example I like to use is Matt Damon. If everybody's ever seen the movie The Martian with Matt Damon, where he's escaping Mars. And so the whole movie builds up to, is Matt Damon going to be able to get off of Mars? And is he going to make it? Is he going to make it? There's something wrong. He's not going to make it. No, he's going to make it. Yes, it shows off Mars. Boom, we cut to Earth. Everybody's waving American flags. And boom, we cut to Mission Control. There's giant American flags on the backdrop. And so what they did is they built you that moment of high positive motion. They showed you the flag. And they anchored that high positive motion flag. And they've been doing that your entire life. And now that I just said it, if you didn't know what's going on, you're going to see it all the time. You're like, now you know how the magician does the trick. And you're like, son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. So that's going on. That's why the NBA puts the American flag on the backboard. So you psychologically associate the goal with black because you're watching with black at the same time you're watching with the goal. That's why NFL has the flag on the helmets, even though the players are forbidden to take them off. And so it's a playbook, a running game on the population. CIA and DOD, again, there's another page from the book. Anytime you see the hypertext link, CIA, DOD, 800 plus movies, 1,000 plus television shows that we yell at. So it's a big program. It's been going on out there for a long time. If you think about it, anybody got Amazon Prime, everybody got Netflix? Okay, this is where all movies are going, right? Yep, it's always the hero, whether it's the FBI, the CIA, Tom Cruise saving the world, for saving America from the terrorists that are out to get you, or menacing. The only government can save you. The government employees are always ripped and good looking and like ready to save the day any moment, whether it's the CIA, the DEA, the ATF, President of the United States flying fighter jets to protect the world from invading aliens. The government is always the hero. So we talked about using visualizations. One of the things that I'm doing in the book is I'm using visualization to make something that was invisible visible. If I told you without showing you this slide that there were 6 companies running hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of subsidiaries on the old media side, television, radio, print, outdoor advertising, theme parks, that kind of thing, theater chains, maybe you would believe me. But if I show you a media ownership chart where News Corp, okay, it's Fox News, they don't just own Fox News. They own book publishing companies, they own internet properties, they own magazines, they own 175 newspapers, including some of your best-known newspapers in the world. They own satellite networks. They own film production, they own film distribution, they own television production, they own television programming. Here's a Disney, which is ABC right next to it. They own book publishers, they own film, they own everything. This one's a little this one actually goes back from 2006. There's been more consolidation since this, but it's just the best visualization that has the kind of like the overall thing that you get it like, oh, it's just we're going to control every single channel so that every single channel that you turn to, government is legitimate, government is legitimate, government is legitimate. It's not necessarily that they're lying to you. We're just distracting you with content that we have, the scientifically appeal to people that like, you like monster trucks? We got a channel that's nothing but monster trucks. You like food? We got a food channel. You like flipping houses? We got flipping houses. And all the content is going to be stuff that is entertaining but will provide no nutritious value whatsoever. It's like digital slurping. Yes?
Who are the big sticks?
In this chart, it's News Corp, General Electric, which owns NBC, Disney, Time Warner, Viacom, and CBS. Now, this is out of date. There's actually been more consolidation, but some of the major players, because of mergers and acquisitions, aren't represented, or their old name is there, or whatever it is. But it's essentially the same on the old media side, and so I'm going to call that the old media side. Now, okay, so my point is if you tried to explain this to your friends and relatives without this chart, they may or may not believe. But if you show them, and where they can see it with their own eyes, all of a sudden they're like, holy crap, there's 6 companies running hundreds of subsidiaries, and everybody the illusion that there's all these different information sources in society. What the? And they just get it because they saw it with their own eyes, and so they're going to come into that deeper understanding. This is another chart. This is from 2017. It was put out by a group called Swiss Propaganda Research. They've also had some of the best alternative research and scholarship on who's behind the COVID. They do fantastic work out of Europe. This is a chart showing, you're all on it. So, okay, what we're going to do is we can use visualization to make the connections between ostensibly unconnected, unaffiliated companies whose reporters, editors, and publishers are all tied together under these 3 organizations that, coincidentally, Jeffrey Epstein was a member of all 3 of these organizations. And so what you got is you've got the Bilderberg Group, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission have over time, in a coordinated effort, have maneuvered their members into all of the key publishers, editorships, etc., so that they can sell whatever the lie of the day is across multiple channels. We can make you believe that the United States was attacked in the Gulf of Tonkin. We can make you believe that Kuwait babies got tossed out of incubators. We can make you believe that that Building 7 in New York City on September 11th collapsed completely and symmetrically into its own footprint at free fall speed while violating the laws of physics and displaying all the hallmarks of a textbook controlled demolition. We do illusion, man. We do illusion. Make you believe dinosaurs chasing sheep on islands in the Pacific. Besides those organizations, the other program that came out in church committee hearings in 1976 was that the CIA had hundreds of reporters, editors, publishers on the payroll. That came out in church committee hearings. They admitted it. That still goes on today. There's been specific reporters that have come out and have said, the CIA paid me to write this story, told me to write it, or the CIA gave me the story and told me to put my name on it. And so we've got evidence that that's going out. Now, we talked about that being the old media. So on the old media side, television, print, radio, things like that. Now on the new media side, the internet. So I think I mentioned to you that I used to build networks for Wall Street for market training for technology. I used to work at global ISPs, know a little bit about the internet. Used to live in Ashburn, Virginia. The internet's global interconnection point. 100 plus football field size, world-class data centers is unbelievable. This is a network map from 1974, okay, showing dozens and dozens of institutions, research institutions, military, all connected to the internet back then. They had internet way before we had the internet. And so by the time that they released the internet to the population, they had already figured out what technologies and companies that they needed to control to be able to control perception widely on the planet. And I believe that most of the companies, there's about 2-3 dozen what I call new media DARPA front companies that had been given unlimited capital, a technological head start and internet protocol technology, patents, just whatever it takes for them to be able to dominate their little corner of the internet. And so this is Google, YouTube, Reddit, Wikipedia, Amazon. It's Discuss, a company that does comments on thousands and thousands of websites. It's Snopes. It's Amazon. It's Netflix. It's forgetting others. LinkedIn. It's Twitter. It's Pinterest. It's Instagram. It's all of these now. That's not hypothetical. Every single one of those companies that I just mentioned has been caught censoring people on their platforms. Every single one of those companies, it's not a conspiracy theory. They've been caught over and over again, and not just censoring people on their own platforms, but they're working as a cartel to censor. And so I always say, was it September of 2018, they had the light long knives and they wiped the developing alternative media essentially off the internet. They kicked 290 people off of Facebook, but they kicked off 500 pages. One of those pages was as an example, was the Free Thought Project. They didn't just lose their Facebook page, which had millions of followers. So what the alternative media was kicking ass on Facebook and Twitter and dominating everything until they began getting shadow banned and kicked off and demonetized and everything like that. But in 2018, when they kicked off the Free Thought Project, it wasn't just their Facebook account they lost. They got a strike against their YouTube channel that day, and they lost their Twitter account. So it's a coordinated camp. These are cartel companies of organized crime companies that is controlling information that you receive to sell you on a system. Now, those three organizations that I showed you, showed you this chart showing how the membership of these three organizations has been moved into the key partnerships, publisherships, and others. Well, guess what? They don't just control the media. They control the presidency, the vice presidency. So this is what you're looking at here. This is another visualization. And so we're going back in time. We're going to start with the presidency. So Barack Hussein Obama, Bilderberg. Clinton, Bilderberg, Council on Foreign Relations Tribal Commission. Before him, there was George Herbert Walker Bush, Council on Foreign Relations Tribal Commission. There was James Earl Carter, Council on Foreign Relations Tribal Commission. There's Gerald Ford, Bilderberg, Council on Foreign Relations, and the 333 Mason. It's the vice presidency, it's the cabinet, it's the House of Representatives, it's the directors of the Central Intelligence Agency, it's the President's Council of Economic Advisors, it's House of Representatives, it's the Senate, it's military officers, chairmen of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, going back decades. Every one of these, this is going back decades through both Republican and Democratic administrations. There's a difference between Republicans and the Democrats. This is it. This is when you hear people talk about the deep state. You're looking at it, except just let's not use the word deep state. Let's use intergenerational organized crime, because number one, it is, and it's a lot more discriminative versus, I believe, terms like deep state, globalists, elitists, New World Order. I find these to be, frankly, unhelpful, undescriptive terms that are used because you can't do anything about deep state. The FBI doesn't have a department that's doing something about the deep state. Now, when you call it intergenerational organized crime and you show how trillions of dollars are being siphoned out the back door, private companies, private banks, the bailouts, military equipment contracts for overpriced weapons that we don't need to fight imaginary enemies that they invented They end wars based on lies, and they create intelligence. Now there's an expectation that maybe the FBI ought to get off their ass and do something about it and start evaluating it as organized crime. We look at it in the lens of, oh, we're getting robbed. Then everything makes sense. It's like the key that unlocks all the locks, okay? Oh, that's why the Pentagon is missing trillions of dollars. So that's why they can't account for $6 billion in physical cash from Iraq. But that's why we're buying helmets for the F-35 for $400,000 and $14,000 toilet seats, and explains the Pentagon's Bishop's Fund scandal, and it explains the money missing from housing and urban development. It's robbery. We're getting robbed. It's a complete robbery. They bought up the media so that the media doesn't tell you what's really, really going on. And the thing you got to understand is, if you're stealing trillions of dollars, and they are, then it doesn't cost you anything to control the media. So all those companies, like, that looks like a lot of money. Compared to trillions of dollars, it's mice nuts. It's a rounding error. It doesn't even matter. It might as well be free for them to control the media under the system that they have created. So this visualization, again, makes something that was invisible to most people, your friends, your family, your colleagues, the world, whatever it is. Now all of a sudden they can see it, they can visualize it, they have deeper understanding, they see the pattern. And so that's it. I mentioned all of these organizations. I mentioned that Jeffrey Epstein was a member of all three of these organizations. Young being poster boy for Council on Foreign Relations. So in addition to controlling society for controlling the information that they receive, we're also running a little, what's known in Washington, D.C. as a brownstone operation, where we'll take a politician or a prominent individual or royalty or whoever it is we need to have under our thumb, and we'll put them in a room with a little girl, little boy, slip them a roofie, take some photographs, and we'll blackmail. We're just murdering over at organized crime. We're cheating. We're running. We're using the reason that they're in power is they're willing to do things that other people aren't willing to do to be able to have this power system. So we talked about the trillions. Like, where's the money going? How are they following it out? Well, number one, the banks lobbied and bribed Congress, so the banks are essentially at the top of the food chain. I'll tell you what I know and I can prove, and then I'll tell you what I don't know and what's speculation. That is the puppets. You saw the puppets. I have no idea who's at the top, but I can show you who the puppets are. I can show you how the money moves. I can show you, certain things without knowing exactly who's controlling it. But you can see the skeleton by using visualization. You can see how the system moves. You can see where the money's going. So in 1913, the banks lobbied and bribed Congress to create the Federal Reserve System, and Federal Reserve backstops the money center banks like J.P. Morgan, Citigroup, the Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and all those guys to earn obscene exorbitant profits by creating money out of thin air and learning into interest. And the basics of the scam are, when you go to a bank to get a loan, they're not giving you deposit money. Some other cause for. They just tickle the ivories and they credit your account with digital dollars. And then you spend the rest of your life paying back a mortgage that somebody literally created out of thin air. In addition to that being inherently unfair, why do businesses in the country, there's just small amount of businesses that get to create money? Like, I have a business, I don't get to create money. You get to create money. Somebody don't get to create their own, money. And so in addition to that being unfair to the other market participants, it's inflationary. And so the reason that prices are going up aren't because fairies come at night, sprinkle pixie dust over gas pumps and price tags. The reason the prices are going up is they're creating trillions and trillions of dollars, and these trillions of excess dollars then go on to compete with the existing dollars in circulation and begin to bid up prices. It's the more dollars they print, the more dollars there are competing for a fixed amount of goods and services, and that's only drive a bit up prices. And so the whole system is inflationary, and it's stealing everybody's money in the same way as if they stuck their hand in your pocket and stole it. They're just stealing the value out of it in a more sophisticated way. And then those who've seen profits will allow them to buy up the military. They're also doing military procurement fraud. We mentioned the Pentagon can't account trillions of dollars, the Bishop's Fund, the Fat Leonard scandal, unnecessary homeland security and police state spending, hundreds of millions of dollars for scanners that they don't need, or just a security theater to get you used to saying, I surrender to a government agent, getting used to getting touched by a government agent, getting used to you having your travels, controlled by government agents. It's government monopoly privileges, intellectual property, broadcast licenses, postal and rail monopolies, etc. It's trillions of dollars handed to private banks and private companies through, in 2008, Charlie Littall, now bailouts. So we did a multi-investigator investigation of COVID in April and May of 2020, and we came to the conclusion that COVID is the manufactured, engineered reason for the bailouts. This is speculation. Like I said, I'll tell you prove, and I'll tell you what speculation is. And so this appears to us to be a bank robbery. So we're going to steal, so the goal is we're going to hand trillions of dollars in bailouts to our friends in Wall Street and in our cartel monopoly companies. And we're going to spend billions on this monopoly media system and the unhirable control of the CDC and the WHO and government in general to make everyone think that there is a...
Is this because of certain derivatives, like making fraudulent?
So, like I said, this is speculation. I want to be very clear. I actually think that they could no longer fund the treasure part. So, at the time before COVID, in 2020, the government was borrowing about $1 trillion a year, selling bonds, bills, and notes to investors on Wall Street. The Fed had been caught before doing what are called straw purchases, or what many market participants view as straw purchases, either through the Cayman Islands or through Belgium, where Belgium, and I think it was 2014, famously bought like $300 billion worth of treasuries. Like where did Belgium get this money? It just it's a Ponzi scheme where they're creating money out of thin air. So imagine, this is a good analogy. I have $1 and you have the $1. And we have the only $2 in the entire world. Okay, I own 50% of the entire wealth on the globe. You own 50% of the entire wealth on the globe. And then a bank or the Fed quantitatively eases or creates, using fractional reserve, banking $2 more. Okay, now all of a sudden, I have 25% of the world as well. You have 25%, and they've stolen 50% of the world as well, right in that little scheme that they get. So what they're doing is they're using this dollar system to create little paper tickets, digital dollars out thin air, that they then are buying the world and turning into plant property equipment. This is why the exact same chain stores are on every corner in every city, etc. We're waging economic warfare. We're going to provide certain companies unlimited capital in a predatory manner that is not reflective of capitalism. It's not reflective of the free market. It's not reflective with the way that would be if it wasn't for this crooked monetary system, etc. They're buying up the world, and they're it's a way of robbing us. Absent the crooked monetary system, everybody should be fabulously more wealthy than we are right now. We should be fabulously wealthy. Forget the overt taxes and the covert taxes. And when I say the overt taxes is your 1040. The covert taxes is every time you get a gallon of gas, every time you get a beer, every time you buy a pack of cigarettes, every time you buy pay your cell phone bill, every time you pay your cable TV bill, every time you get a hotel room, every time you get a rental car, every time you, on and on and on. That's the covert taxes. The worst one of all is the inflation tax, because if it wasn't for that tax, your dollar should be buying more and more every single year if we had a stable monetary system, as innovations and productivity improvements reduce the costs of producing and distributing the necessities and luxuries of life. So not only are you being robbed of growing purchasing power, but because your dollar is actually losing money every year, you're losing the entire delta of, not only should you be paying less and less for stuff every year, but you're losing the value balance. You're getting robbed of what you should be getting at greater purchasing power, and you're having more purchasing power taken out of you. So it is a way of waging economic warfare against the population. So the treasury market, okay, so it's a Ponzi scheme. We're taking these dollars, we're turning them into plant property and equipment. The problem is that back in 2020, the debt and the deficit are out of control, and the government was going to have to raise 25% more this year or in 2020 than they did last year before the COVID, before they had all of these bailouts and all the spindles and everything like that. And so in December of 2019, January of 2020, February of 2020, all of a sudden, the Treasury started, and the Fed started getting caught doing something that was illegal. They're not allowed to buy treasuries at auction. Okay, they're forbidden by the Federal Reserve. Is forbidden by the Federal Reserve Act from participating in the treasury market, buying them at the auctions. Now, to manage their balance sheet, they're allowed to buy older dated treasuries, and it's just there's a scam in that. But all of a sudden, in December of 2019, January 2020, they began getting caught not buying them at auction. That would be illegal. They would wait one day, buy them with the primary dealers. So there's about 24 banks in Wall Street, Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, JP Morgan, the usual suspects, that get paid for selling the government's debt. They make a commission for selling the government's bonds, bills, and notes to their investor base, et cetera. And so every time you sell a treasury bill on a note, there's a CUSIP number attached to it, and the people that monitor that realize that, hey, the treasury is buying yesterday's issuance. They're just waiting a day, and they just bought it right from the primary dealer. And so I think they got to the point where they could not fund the treasury market without being able to intervene in it. And so part of it was they're doing a whole bunch of things simultaneously, or part of, I think, of the reason for the COVID and the timing for the COVID. And what happened is we're at the end of the dollar system. So the dollar is now long in the tooth compared to the average lifespan of a unbacked fiat currency. And so I think we were at the end of it. And so the COVID is also the manufactured and engineered reason why the Fed now gets to participate and start participating in the treasury market and be able to step in and buy treasuries of the market so that the auctions wouldn't collapse and the system collapse. And so the COVID allows them, which they began doing, it's like May of 2020. At one point, they were buying $8 billion a day. Towards the end of the year, it stabilized $8 billion a month. But the only way that the treasury market did collapse was because of these emergency powers they were granted under the code. So that is my thesis. So let's go on COVID. So the book is I've got a startup public policy organization foundation called the Art of Liberty Foundation, where we're trying to expose this from number one. So now, getting all bad is good news. The good news message of the book is we don't need government. It has been a giant free scam, the biggest scam in history. But everything the government does that is non-redistributive, you can't rob Peter to pay Paul. But whether it's roads or whether it's armed protective services that they call police, or whether it's dispute resolution that they call the courts, or whether it's air traffic control. Everything the government does can be done better, faster, cheaper by the free market without extortion, the violence, and everything that it does. So there'd still be police without government, okay? But it would be ADT, and it would be brakes, and it would be Garda, and there would be other companies that would be competing, and they would be competing on service, how well they protect the neighborhood. But when you call them, you still get a guy with a gun, but he only has the same rights that you do. You have the ability under natural law and self-ownership of your body to protect your life and your liberty and your property, okay? So you can delegate that right, okay? That makes sense. You take a right you have and you can delegate it to brakes to protect your house when you're not there, or your neighbor is threatening you or whatever. You could call and have somebody come, but they only have the same rights that you do, okay? They don't have rights that other people don't. When you call the police show up and you don't have the ability to tell your neighbor to be, you could be smoking a plant, or tell your neighbor whether or not he can have a gambling, have a poker game. The police show up, they'll kick in your door and arrest everybody for poker game. Where did they get a right that you don't have? And so all the victimless crime gets away. The way we do justice, doing retribution instead of restorative justice, it's all wrong. So you would be so much better off. You would pay less for almost every single thing that pay for. You'd have way more freedom, and so we're coming at the problem, and we're not just exposing that the government is illegitimate and criminal. We're also trying to educate people on the way the free market works, the invisible hand, capital creation, spontaneous order. The world produces spontaneous order. Everything that you want government to do could be done by the private market, but you never really thought about it because they never really, every single channel, it's always government's legitimate. And so nobody's ever been really, had to think about, well, how would we solve X, Y, or Z problem if it wasn't for the government? Well, luckily, all we gotta do is get rid of this parasite, and we're all wealthier from the 50%, the covert taxes, the overt taxes, and the inflation. We'll have more than enough money to take care of the poor, the needy, the Spanish. I'll wrap it up there. I got about 2 minutes for questions, and so I'll take 2 questions, and we'll have to wrap her.
So what's it going to look like at the dollar collapse? Is it going to look like Venezuela or something?
It depends. I think we're facing either a complete dollar collapse or a devaluation coming to the 20-30% haircut. It could be an engineered deal like Breckles, or where they revalue. They're going to probably try and force central bank cryptocurrencies on everybody, and so you don't want that. You should be prepared for a dollar flash. You should have gold, silver, cryptocurrencies, non-US dollar denominated assets. So all of your assets should be in the dollar.
So skulle inte kunna invapna till value for either 50% and half the.
Yeah. So anything that's not so if you're set on $11, I would recommend diversify your into real plant, property, equipment, real estate. Gold, silver, and small nominations of a recognizable hallmark gem of silver pre-19.
So does the real estate DI also do?
So it depends. I'm not an expert on what it will look like. And you want to be in a jurisdiction where the government isn't openly tyrannical. Like, you don't want to be in class in New Jersey. We're actually pretty good here in Sedona because there's so many people that understand freedom here, and there's so many people that are already voluntarists. There's so many people that argue the government is corrupt. Sedona seems like a pretty good place to weather the storm. There's some places that are horrible. You want to be near a fixed city. You want to be a gas tech outside of that, but you want to ideally have some leisure, get agriculturally self-sufficient and protect your family life and, from scavengers and looters, people that aren't fair.
recipient preferred.
I regulate it. I'm a drug. So.